Well, as we've been hearing on the news, it was Victoria residents turned to take to the streets as the Occupy movement spread across the globe, venting people's frustration at the size of corporate profits in this country and others. Amid other concerns, cities across Canada attracted thousands of protesters. Here on the island, it's estimated about 1,000 people took part in protests in Victoria, maybe more. And for more on this, we're joined by one of the people who took the time to take part. Mike Renault is one of those people who took part. He was there over the weekend, and he's here in studio with me right now. Mike, good morning to you.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, nice to talk to you. So why did you take part? Why were you prompted to go out and put foot to pavement?
Well, I've been reading about it a lot as it occurred in New York, and the main issue, or the issue that I feel really strongly about, is how corporate spending and finances have been taking control of our government and removing the power from the hands of the people. And I think that's a concern that lots of people shared, and perhaps why we saw such strong support on Saturday and Sunday, and that's why I went out.
So you felt that was a kind of a unified purpose then? Because I'm sure you've heard it, a lot of people saying there doesn't seem to be one coherent message from these protests. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I've heard that complaint a lot, but I feel like it's pretty clear to everyone that there actually is a unified message, and the unified message is something's gone pretty wrong with the capitalist system that we currently have. The complaint about the unified message is probably that we don't have a nice fix it this way slogan that we can put on a poster, but if somebody has a way to solve capitalism that can fit on a pithy billboard slogan, I'll happily write it on a billboard for them, and then you'll see that message more widespread. But you can tell that people are very dissatisfied with the way capitalism has been going.
So give us another sense, if you will. We heard in our previous half hour some of the voices from the protest. What was your sense on who was at the Victoria protest? How would you describe the atmosphere?
I took a lot of pictures just because I thought it was really, really incredible, both how positive it was. Everyone was really happy to be there. Everyone was happy that this was going on and to be showing support of Wall Street's movement and the rest of the world. As well, it was a very diverse crowd. We had lots of people who were middle-aged and elderly. We had lots of business folk. We had lots of youth, families with their children at points. And we tried, the people that volunteer coordinated this tried to make it as open and a safe space as possible. Some of the news coverage has mentioned that over the weekend there was specifically a safe and family spot set up for people with families to make sure that things are going okay if they needed to do that. And so it ended up being a very inclusive group.
What was your observation of how authority figures handled it, how police handled this event on the side?
They did a good job. They were quite supportive. When the movement wanted to march the streets, they blocked off streets for us. I'm not aware of any major altercations with the police. Some people decided to camp out there, and the police initially had reservations about that, but they talked with City Hall and got direction to allow the participants to camp out in Centennial Square.
We were out looking this morning, and it looks like there's a dozen or more tents still there. What are your thoughts on the idea of remaining? I mean, is there an advantage of people keeping a presence there, an Occupy Victoria demonstration going into the future?
There certainly is. What I hope to see from the movement, and this may differ from other participants, is sort of a long-term presence with every once in a while, 2 weeks, a month, days of action, days of renewed major protest on certain issues. Keeping people there is very important for reminding people that these issues are on the table, and that's really one of the main things that I hope to see from the movement, and a benefit that I think we've seen expressed is that the issue of income inequality, the issue of corporate control of politics, these issues have really been brought to the table and forced into public sight and public discourse. And that's definitely a change for the better, and that's definitely a change that is facilitated by having people keeping control of that square for as long as possible.
Part of the public discourse, and we heard it in our last half hour, was some of the tape from the people involved, included some of the passers-by, some who were disappointed, essentially saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, you're lucky to live in this country. You have healthcare, you have food, food, shelter, safety. What is there to complain about? What do you say to those people who say this is misdirected?
Yeah, certainly Canada is great. Like, I would never contest that. We are not in as dire a situation as the United States, but I don't think our criterion for success has ever been not awful. I think the people in this movement want to see something really good happen and are just saying that there's opportunities to improve. There's opportunities to refocus our policy on the things Canadian citizens need and opportunities to make progress and make things better. And so to people that are like, yeah, it's pretty good, like, you're right, we're not like dying in the US. We aren't as in such an awful position, but we want to be great. We don't want to just be not awful.
Yeah, it's interesting that some, I've heard the debate from those in favor of and those opposed around the comparison to the Arab Spring. Some people saying, well, it was a big inspiration, what happened in Egypt and so on, and we're carrying that here. And then the critics saying, well, don't be ridiculous. They didn't have a proper democracy. They didn't have the vote. Here in this country, we have a vote. We have a way of changing things. Do you think that protesting like this in a country with the vote, with a fairly functioning democracy, still has a role to play that can go beyond what we as citizens can do at the ballot box?
Definitely. And I think one of the good things about this protest, at least from my perspective, is it's a way to remind people that democracy isn't something we do once every 5 years at the ballot box. Because one of the things we also have to do in a democratic country is make sure that politicians are addressing the concerns we have as well. Because if election time comes around, there's going to be, 5 to 6 to 10 major issues that each party discusses and focuses policy on and makes sure that they're addressing. And what this does is this sets the agenda for that next election to make sure that one of the things they address and discuss is this sort of thing. Furthermore, it can shape policy within a party that's already in power. Perhaps, although I am mildly skeptical, Stephen Harper will see this and, pass some sort of policy. And the movement's not even necessarily only about, getting some sort of policy passed, but just raising the issue in Canadian consciousness and fostering a really positive and open discussion about these issues.
Well, Mike, I appreciate the discussion we've had. Thank you very much for joining me. Good to talk to you this morning.
Thank you very much.